question haunted Keigo all day. The burns made him feel sick and groggy, so getting up and doing anything was out of the question for a while. He just wanted to sleep, but even his sleep wouldn't give him much rest. Every time he relaxed enough to sleep, all he would dream about was blue flames in Dabi's half-melted face. He'd jerk awake every time before groaning into his pillow. Looking up and around, he found it was the middle of the night. Emily must have gone to bed already. He'd send a feather out to double-check, only to remember he didn't have any. Great. With a slight groan, he tried to sit up. His burns weren't stinging like before, so that was helpful. He looked around before spotting an iPad next to his futon/sickbed with a sticky note attached to it.
14372 is the code, in case you have trouble sleeping. Emily.
Keigo chuckled. That was nice of her, giving him something to entertain himself in the late night. Turning on his headphones, he opened the iPad and connected to the Bluetooth. He explored the apps, finding her music playlists, a few audiobooks, and even the anime app. It was still surreal seeing his face as an anime character. Then again, he often played with the idea that his life felt a bit anime-ish. While he didn't have main character hair, he was sure his wings didn't help. Deciding not to watch his anime, he discovered the news app. At least this way, he could catch up on the recent goings-on in this world and get a feel for what he was in for here. So far, what Emily had told him was true. There were no quirks here. There weren't any heroes either unless you counted the emergency workers, which he did. Those guys dealt with a lot more than he did on a daily. Though while there were no superheroes, there were a lot of villains. The dangerous types, too. Like the ones in politics that honeyed their words. He sighed. I guess corruption happens wherever there are people, he thought. There were a couple of blurbs in the side columns that caught his attention, though. Something about a superwoman and questioning where she went. He squinted at the page, but his eyes were starting to drift shut and unfocus again with sleep. He saved the article to read later and turned on some quiet music to listen to as he fell back to sleep. He still had hundreds of questions to ask, and no idea how to start asking them. He was pulled out of his sleep by the smell of breakfast being made. He groaned, the soft music still filtering through his headphones as he woke up. Emily was back in the kitchen. Turning his headphones off, he could hear her humming something he didn't recognize. But he was tired of lying around, so he forced himself to sit up and stand, taking careful steps toward the kitchen. Want a hand? He asked. She paused her humming and looked back at him.
Shouldn't you be resting? How's your back?
Hurts, but I need to stand, Keigo answered. So, what you making? Emily slowly smiled at him.
French toast. I hope you're hungry.
Keigo nodded, taking the comment as an invitation into the kitchen.
If you could whisk up these eggs, I'll prepare the bread,
Emily told him. Keigo got to work, mixing the milk and eggs as Emily buttered the bread. As they worked, he took a deep breath and opened his mouth.
I'm guessing you're ready to ask your questions?
She asked, beating him to the punch. Keigo looked at her and blinked at the smirk on her face. He chuckled. Well, aren't you sharp? But yeah, I am.
Hopefully, I'll have answers for you,
Emily commented, dipping the bread into the egg mix. First off, when I got here, I know my throat and lungs were burned, Keigo answered. And frankly, I don't think herbs can heal injuries like that overnight.
You're right, they can't.
So how were my throat and lungs not burned? He asked, looking at the strange young woman. She looked back at him, a slight gleam in her eyes.
Let's just say I'm good at what I do.
And that would be? She smiled at him.
Helping those in need.
He scowled. Well, that's cryptic.
I promise it's nothing malicious. I just have a really good skill set.
And that makes it less cryptic? She just smiled at him.
What else can I answer?
Don't ask, got it. Keigo concluded, getting the hint that she wasn't about to share those details. Hopefully there was a yet in that hint. Any idea on how to get me home? Emily hummed momentarily as she flipped the French toast slices, the smell making Keigo's mouth water.
I do have one way. It's a bit unconventional in this world, but it should work. At least I don't see how it couldn't. But we'll cross that bridge when we reach it.
Why are you being so secretive? Emily looked up at Keigo, her green eyes searching his.
Secrets have kept me safe for the past year. This place is more or less my sanctuary. I don't trust easily, as someone of your line of work ought to know well.
He blinked at her, then remembered that she knew his story. That in of itself felt weird. A total stranger to him, living in a completely different world, knew everything about him while he knew nothing about her in return. Okay, fair, Keigo told her. But frankly, I think I'm at a disadvantage knowing next to nothing about you. While, on the other hand, you know many things about me. Emily looked back at the French toast as she dished it up for him.
What do you suggest then?
Keigo grinned as they moved to the table. The chair stung his back, but he managed to sit as they started breakfast. 20 questions, he said. We take turns asking and answering.
A bit childish, don't you think?
Neither of us looks that old. Emily looked at him, pondering the proposal, poking at the French toast with a fork.
I take it there'll be rules and regulations?
Keigo nodded. Simple rules, 1 question per turn.
And if a question is too personal, or if I don't have an answer?
I get the feeling you would have answers to my questions. We'll start with simple questions and work our way up. Denial to answer a question means a chore or favor. Emily raised an eyebrow and hummed.
I could use some help with barn chores now and then. And if I deny a question, this is my home, so I know all the chores.
Keigo smiled charmingly. Then I get a favor from you. Simple favors like a snack run or something.
That's it?
Pretty easy, right?
Feels kind of trappy.
Not at all. More like a fair trade. Emily looked at Keigo and the number 2 hero smiled warmly back. He felt she knew he was trained to get information out of people. Heck, that's what got him into this mess in the first place. But he needed answers. He needed information about this world, who this woman was, and how to get home. Soon she sighed.
Fine. A game of 20 questions then.
Keigo nodded, still smiling. Glad we could start on the same page, Em. So then, who gets the first question?
Hey everyone, I'm the author of Scarlet Feathers, and I wanted to thank you all for listening. If you're enjoying my stories so far, you can support me by subscribing to the channel and hitting the notification bell. Or if you want early access to these chapters, you can become a member on my Ko-fi. Thank you so much for listening to the end. I hope you all enjoy this quick blooper.
20 questions?
Emily asked, walking to the table to join Keigo with her French toast.
Isn't that a little childish?
She yelped as she tripped over her feet, and the French toast flew right at Keigo. Keigo jumped to catch the plate, but grunted as a slice of the French toast landed on his head and syrup spilled down his face.
Oh my god, Keigo, I am so sorry.
Nah, it's good. I heard of chicken and waffles, but not chicken and French toast.
Cut! Someone get Keigo a towel.